Welcome, everybody. Today, we're going to be talking about how to ask for what you want and how to get it.
That's right. So the reason we're bringing up this topic is if there's something you're looking for, whether it's a new role, promotion, a raise, or just a business opportunity, you can get it if you don't even ask.
Yes.
But we often struggle to either ask because we're afraid of rejection or don't know how to ask it right so that we get that yes. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So let's start off with maybe talking about did you have a situation in the past where you struggled with that, and how did you actually get it right?
Absolutely. I mean, early in my career, it was one of those things where you're just afraid to ask for what you want. I mean, there are certain things like, it's really being able to articulate what you want and having that nervousness of asking for what exactly that you wanted. And so it is so important to not to be afraid to ask. You have to ask. If you don't ask, then the answer is always going to be no. But if you do ask, you have a chance to get it. But if you're thoughtful in the way to ask, you do that. So for me, I experienced a situation where, I took a job and it required me to move, but I know I wanted to get back to LA. So I was on the West Coast and I took this job and I had to move to, I guess where all the tech companies were at. And it was in San Francisco, but I knew that I wanted to get back to LA because I had some elder care issues. I was taking care of my mother, and I basically negotiated and I knew what I needed to ask. And I said, look, I'm happy to take this job, but I need to be back in LA and basically permanently in LA, at least within a year. Mm-hmm. And so through being able to just ask and kind of putting it out there of how this was going to benefit. So I really had to think about, how is this going to be helpful? This wasn't just going to be a selfish kind of thing. How could this also contribute to my team and to the organization? And it just so happened that there were 2 team members who sat already in the LA office and really didn't have a leader or a senior person on the team who could be there kind of live in person with them. So when I went to negotiate, I said, hey, I want to learn the ropes here in the organization. So I will come here for a year, but then I would like to move down to LA, and here are the benefits why. It would help the team feel much more connected because they'd have one of the leaders from, the department or the team being there, and I could be those people, and I could be, and I could help manage and help develop their career and things like that. And then 2, it would benefit me because I could also take care of my family, of my mother, and all of those things. And when I went there and I, put it out there, I was like worried because I'm like, oh, they're going to say it's going to be hard to do. And it was a simple of like, yeah, that sounds great. Let's work this out. Let's figure it out. Let's put a date and we'll work towards that. And that was it. So
you really kind of figured out a way to make it work for everyone
for
involved,
everybody.
So it was very thoughtful.
It was thoughtful. I did think about, how is this not just going to be beneficial to me? Like, this is what I want and this is why I want it. It was like, okay, how could this be helpful for the team and everybody else, not just me?
Yeah.
And really kind of positioned it in that way, and then came through on that part too, right? Making sure that, okay, I was going to be the leader in the LA office and these are all the things I was going to do to help the broader team.
Yeah, I can totally relate because that's also something that, I've had to figure out a way to make it, valuable for the other person. But what about situations where you did not ask or asked the wrong way? What about that?
There's so many missed opportunities in my career, as I was in my early career, was just because of that fear of asking or not knowing how to ask for it. Right. And not really being able to say, this is how it's a win-win situation. So I never thought about the win-win. And so at the end of the day, I wouldn't ask. And so of course the answer was no.
Yeah, because if you don't ask, there's only one answer.
Exactly. You just don't think about putting it out there. And so there were even opportunities like, promotion opportunities or opportunities that I wanted to put my hand up, but I didn't ask for it. And then I finally got tapped at one point and said, hey, here's this new role. We want you to take it on. It's going to be amazing for your career and it's going to help you elevate and all of these things. I said, yeah, great. I took this job. I never negotiated salary again. I never thought to. And it was like, I didn't know what I didn't know. And
You're just grateful for the opportunity.
I was grateful for the opportunity. And it wasn't until a mentor of mine, he said, awesome, I'm so proud of you. He was like, so what's your new, like, did you ask for new pay? Like, what's your new compensation package? And I was like, what do you mean? And he was like, are you kidding me? He's like, you said yes to the job already? And I'm like, yes. He's like, you didn't negotiate. And I'm like, no. And he was like, Monica, you always negotiate. It's a new job. It's just like if you would have interviewed for a new job, you would have negotiated. And I was like, oh my God, I didn't know to ask.
Because it's easy to think about negotiation when you are taking on a new role in a new company.
Yes.
Because you think it's a new start.
Yeah.
But if it's a new responsibility in the same company, you often don't even think of
exactly. And the thought did cross my mind. I'm like, well, this is a new job. And I wonder, the person who left, I know that they were more senior than me, making more money. And I was like, should I ask? And then I didn't. But it was later that I was like, yes, I should have asked. So after that, once I started getting kind of new opportunities where they were tapping me outside of a promotion cycle, I started saying, okay, well, what is the pay? What is the, and I started negotiating.
Yeah. So, some of the things that you talked about, can relate to a wide spectrum of stuff, right? Because it's not just about asking for a raise or a promotion or a new job opportunity. It can equally apply in business.
Yes.
If you're an entrepreneur or you're trying to build something or you're trying to get a deal, it doesn't matter. The same scenario applies. And frankly, even in terms of building your network, if you're trying to grow your network and ask for connections, the same thing. It's if you don't ask people to join, you're not going to be able to get the results you want. And it's some of the mistakes that I've made in the past. First of all, probably the biggest one is just not asking. And I remember at an early stage of my career when I had my first sort of business development responsibilities. And it was important because I knew that the, developing P&L skills and having sales skills are so important, in order to rise up in business or run your own company. And so I wanted the skill set, which is a great idea, but to do the job well, you really have to figure out how to take the leap of faith and do the courageous thing. You can't just have an idea to say, yes, that's what I want, but I'm unwilling to do what it takes. And so I would basically have this target, that I have to have X number of deals or these many millions done in 3 months. And I just didn't have the courage to go ask people for it. And so time slips by and you just don't take that act. And instead of learning how to do it, I was just avoiding it and then getting panicked by it. Right. But what's worse is that it erodes your own confidence, because when you're not taking action, you're reminded of the very thing you're not doing. And then before you know it, your confidence erodes even more versus doing the hard thing that's scary and that you feel like, I don't know if I can do this. But the minute you do it, you just feel slightly better. You just feel like, okay, you know what? I know this was hard, but I did it. And next time I can do it slightly better. Right. And just being able to repeatedly practice that, where you focus on the habit of taking the action rather than worrying about the outcome alone gets you a lot further.
Absolutely.
And even in the, last few months, I think that has come to life, certainly, for us and the company, is that we had this sort of dream list of advisors that we wanted to have on our board. And we knew exactly who we wanted to invite. And then that same familiar feeling of, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can ask. What if they say no? Or how do I figure this out? But finally, systematically going through it, asking the right way, and making sure it was a good fit for both parties. Literally every single person we had on our dream list, we got. And it was following this exact same process. Right.
But it was getting, there's some steps, right, of knowing what you want to ask for. You can't just go and say, it's even in a situation where you want a promotion or you want someone to be your mentor. Why? Like, what is it? And, what's the motivation behind it? So really getting to the core of the ask, knowing what to ask for.
Right. So let's dig into that. Let's talk about exactly how to ask, whether it's a raise or a promotion or it's a business opportunity, whatever that is. The first thing is you've got to be really, really clear about what you want and why you want it. and what you're willing to do for it. Because if you're unclear about why that matters to you, then the first rejection or the first bad news is going to just crush you. If you're absolutely certain that, you know what, I believe that I deserve this compensation, and here's the reason why. You know, it's not coming from a place of entitlement or just expectation. It's truly what I deserve. I've, you know, sort of done my research. I have all the results to back it up, and I know I deserve it. And not just that, that if I don't get it, it actually hurts my family, or it's putting me back in my career. If you're very clear about your reasons for why you want it, and exactly specifically what you're asking for. So, for example, it's not just saying, I want more. Well, how much more? And why is that justified? Right. Or if you're looking for the next role, well, specifically which role, not just that I want to get ahead, but specifically what kind of role and at what level, and do you have everything that meets that criteria?
Right.
If you're looking for a business opportunity, you know, it's the same thing. Or you're looking to connect with someone on LinkedIn, you're afraid to ask, why do you want to connect? Just because they're famous and, you know, in a senior role? Or is there some specific reason? So first off, the most important thing is get absolutely clear about why you're wanting that and exactly what it is that you want. Second is, once you know that, then you got to come up with a list of who can help you get there. So sometimes it's not just the direct decision maker. It could be the influencers. It could be other people that can advocate for you when you're not in the room. Who are those people?
Right.
Making a long list of all of those people. And typically, like, you know, I look at like just 10 people, just come up with 10 specific names of who can help you get to that result, either directly or indirectly. Sometimes it could be that person can directly help you. Sometimes it's someone who can influence the person.
Influence the other person.
But come up with a list of 10. Once you know that, then the next thing you got to ask is, for each of those individuals, you know, why should they care? Not about what you can give them or some kind of trade, but why should they care? Genuinely, why should they care? Is it because, you know, they feel aligned to advancing someone like you in the organization? Is it because they are interested in the same subject matter as you? Is it because they are aligned to the same mission as you? So in our case, you know, looking at our advisory board, everyone shared that same exact mission. They were genuinely passionate about that mission. And that became the common point to say, we share the same mission. If we join forces, we're able to do more together. So figure out what is the meaningful thing that they care about. And if the answer is there's nothing that is in common, then that's not a good person to ask anyway. The answer would never be yes. So let's say you start off with 10 and you find out that, you know, 4 of them, really, there's just not a match. There's nothing that can come out of that. Then focus on the other 6 that there is some connection to of why they should care. Next is, what's the best way to ask?
Best way to ask, right? And this sounds simple, but it means so much. Like, if it's something like negotiating a salary or having some sort of conversation about promotion, you may not want to do that in an email, or you may not like want to do a chat, like an IM chat. You know, you want to make sure that you have this person in person, whether it's through a video conference, a phone call, or in person, a live meeting. So,
but it also has to be the right timing for them. So it's not about what's convenient for you, but if you know their schedule or their general profile, what's a particular day in the week when they seem to be the best time to catch them, right? Or
that's when you do your surveillance and you figure out, like, they're always happy
the most
on
receptive. Exactly. When like catching them on Monday morning at 9 a.m. where their head is in a different place and you're asking for something you want, just may not be the right time, right? So being very thoughtful about the right time, the right method, and then most importantly, the right language with which you want to ask, which has to be gracious and respectful, and giving them an opportunity to graciously bow out. Right? So, for example, saying, hey, I'm looking for your guidance or advice or support to achieve X. the reason you can help me is because you have this passion for, let's say, advancing women in the workplace, or you care about diversity. And, these are some of the challenges I've run into. These are some of the things that you have overcome. I know I can learn from you. Would you be willing to support me in achieving this objective? And it would take only 30 minutes of your time, or just an introduction to someone. Get specific on what you want out of them, and make it easy for them. So for example, if you're asking them for an introduction or referral or recommendation, give them sample copy. Say, here's sample copy of what you could use. Here's the specific person I'd like to get that recommendation from. Would you be willing to just connect the dots for me? Yes. And if not, I completely understand. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to ask. Yeah. Makes it super easy.
And the if not, you've got to learn to, one, let rejection slide off your back. But two, sometimes you have to look at it as like, it's a no, but it's not a no, it's a not now. Yeah. And then being able to leave that conversation open as to like, okay, I totally understand. Thank you for listening to me. It's a no, not now, but can you help me then? What would that time look like? Especially if you're, who else could help me. So especially if you're asking for like a raise or a promotion, you need to have that conversation. And even if they tell you no, the benefit is that your direct report or your manager knows that you want a promotion or that you want a raise. And so listen, we're human. And the way the conversations happen during comp season, they talk to your manager. And so I can tell you from either managing those conversations, those comp conversations with other leaders, or managing them for my team myself, if I've had somebody who has had that conversation with me and has asked, then I know when I'm having those conversations, I'll say, you know what? Nikki has asked twice for a raise. I need to do something for her. And this is the time where I can do it because you've asked me in the past. Now, if you've never had that conversation with me, I think like, okay, well, I have a little bit of discretionary kind of comp here. I'm going to go ahead and give it to Nikki because she's asked for it. But Monica over here never asked, so she'll probably be okay. Yeah. So that's the benefit, is that if you ask the question, then they know.
Right. And then the final step is be gracious.
Yes.
If you don't get what you asked for, and the person doesn't agree, just be gracious, even in that loss or that rejection, because it doesn't help to, get highly sensitive or upset or frustrated about it and let it impact your own path forward. Be gracious and then figure out, what do you do next? Don't give up, just figure out what you do next.
Yes.
But being gracious allows the other person to still think highly of that interaction.
Yes.
So again, to recap, get super clear about what you want and why that's important to you. Number 2, find out the 10 people who can help you get there, either directly or by influencing the person who you're trying to reach. Number 3, figure out specifically for each individual, why should they care? And if they don't, if there's no match, move on, find someone else. And number 4, figure out the best day, time, method, and language with which you want to approach them. And number 5, be gracious no matter what the outcome. Your job is to focus on the habit of simply doing what you need to do rather than worrying about whether you get it.
Yes.
And if you keep that attitude, then it doesn't matter if you're trying to sell something to an audience, or you're trying to get a raise, or you're trying to ask for something that's challenging. You just keep doing what you need to do, and eventually the results will come. So
there you have it. And we will see you in the next episode.
And Martha, hi.
Oh, hey, Martha, I didn't see that.
And Norma. We should totally do this in Clubhouse, except, Clubhouse has been like seriously addictive, and I'm trying not to be on it too much. But yeah, that's a great idea. Thanks, Martha, on that. And Norma, thanks for always joining in. Hopefully this has been helpful to you as you're thinking about negotiating that raise. Let us know how we can, and be sure to attend the Thursday workshop, which I think you may have registered for, but that's one of the things is talking about.
It's talking about promotions and positioning yourself and when to have those conversations early. Yeah.
And also, if you haven't already done that, be sure to take the assessment. Go to imbeyondbears.com/quiz. So be sure to take that assessment, because it'll help you figure out exactly what those things are that, can help you get ahead, and like the things you need to overcome. Absolutely. So if you haven't done it already, be sure to do that. All right. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow, 7 p.m. Central. Same time, same place.
Bye.